If you've ever tried growing your own mushrooms, you absolutely know the pain of contamination. I mean, you do everything right. You keep your space perfectly spotless, but that green, fuzzy monster still shows up. Well, today we're going to unmask the invisible enemy behind all that frustration and show you the one simple physics trick you need to win every single time. Welcome to Wonder Fungi. Being clean is not enough. And let me tell you, that is probably the single most important lesson you will ever learn in mycology. It's a tough one, right? Because you can spend hours cleaning, wiping everything down, spraying alcohol everywhere, and you still fail. So what is going on? You did everything by the book. You have the gloves, the mask, the giant bottle of isopropyl alcohol. Your whole setup looked like it belonged in a hospital operating room. And yet, a week later, you peek at your grain jars, and there it is, a little patch of green, fuzzy tragedy. The problem isn't that you weren't clean. The problem is you weren't sterile. And the reason why comes down to a tiny, microscopic supervillain. So let's get into it. The contamination conundrum. It's time to meet your invisible enemy. Seriously, this thing is the #1 cause of failure for home cultivators. And believe me, it is way tougher than you can possibly imagine. It's called an endospore. And what it is, it's this incredible little survival pod that some bacteria build when things get tough. Now, this isn't a spore for making more bacteria, like a mushroom spore. No, this is purely for defense. They basically pack up their DNA into a tiny biological panic room, sealed up tight, just waiting for better times. And their superpowers are just insane. Endospores are one of the most resilient life forms on our planet. Their core is almost totally dried out, and they're wrapped in all these layers of tough proteins and special chemicals. This armor lets them just shrug off radiation, harsh disinfectants, and you guessed it, heat. Scientists have actually brought spores back to life that have been dormant for millions of years. So yeah, your alcohol spray isn't gonna cut it. And that brings us to the biggest mistake that so many beginners make. We all think that boiling water is the ultimate cleaner, right? But for what we need to do, it's a huge mistake. We're about to hit the 212-degree barrier. Okay, so first things first, we've got to get our definitions straight. These two words seem similar, but they are worlds apart. Sanitization, that's what you do with alcohol wipes, it just reduces the number of germs. It's great for wiping down a counter. But sterilization, that means the total, complete elimination of all microbial life. And that includes our supervillain, the endospore. For your green, sanitizing is useless. You absolutely must sterilize. And here's the problem. At normal sea level pressure, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius. You can boil a pot of water all day long. It is physically impossible for it to get any hotter than that. And for an endospore, 212 degrees is like a pleasant little spa day. They can survive being boiled for hours, just chilling out, waiting for things to cool down so they can wake up and eat all your grain. So if boiling water isn't hot enough, how in the world do we break that 212-degree barrier? Well, the answer is probably sitting in your kitchen cabinet. It's the humble pressure cooker. The science here is actually really cool, and it's super simple. It's just a basic law of physics. The boiling point of any liquid totally depends on the pressure around it. So if you trap steam in a sealed pot like a pressure cooker, the pressure has nowhere to go. It builds up. And as that pressure goes up, the temperature of the steam skyrockets right along with it. And this chart shows you the magic right here. Look, at 0 PSI, that's just normal atmospheric pressure, you're stuck at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. But check out what happens when we get the pot up to 15 pounds per square inch, or PSI. Suddenly that steam isn't 212 degrees anymore, it's 250, and that is our target. 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 121 degrees Celsius. That is the magic number. This is the temperature that finally punches through the endospore's armor. The combination of that intense, wet heat gets inside and just completely cooks their internal systems. Nothing survives. This is the endospore kill zone. And the process itself is really straightforward. You just add some water to the bottom of your pressure cooker, put your grain jars in, seal the lid, and crank up the heat until it hits 15 PSI. For a standard quart jar of grain, you're gonna hold it there for about 90 minutes. And then, this part's really important. You just turn off the heat and let it cool down all by itself. Don't vent it. That slow, natural cool down keeps everything perfectly sterile inside. Now, I know what you're thinking.
Hey, what about the Uncle Ben's method? People use those pre-cooked rice bags and they don't use a pressure cooker. And you're right, they don't. But here's the secret. Someone else already did the work for them. And that's the big aha moment. The only reason that whole technique works is because that bag of rice is already 100% sterile, right off the shelf. Why? Because the food factory used a gigantic industrial pressure cooker to make that rice shelf-stable in the first place. When you use that method, you're just piggybacking on their multi-million-dollar sterilization equipment. Pretty clever, right?
Yeah, in the food industry, this is serious business. Any food that isn't acidic, like rice or corn or beans, it has to be commercially sterilized to be safe on a shelf. They use these massive autoclaves called retorts to hit that same 121 Celsius kill zone temperature. It's mainly to destroy endospores from a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum, which can cause deadly botulism. So that bag of rice isn't just clean, it's medically sterile. So the biggest takeaway from all of this is pretty simple. To succeed, to get those amazing mushroom harvests, you have to go beyond clean. You have to achieve true sterilization. You have to respect the pressure.
And hey, I get it. Some people get a little nervous around pressure cookers. We've all heard those old stories about them blowing up in grandma's kitchen. But seriously, modern pressure cookers are incredibly safe. They're built with all kinds of safety backups like lids that lock themselves and emergency release valves. As long as you read the manual, you will be totally fine. So when you boil it all down, it comes to this one simple, powerful truth. The difference between a successful grow and another contaminated failure isn't about how clean your house is. The difference between a tub overflowing with beautiful mushrooms and another sad jar of mold is just 38 degrees and 15 pounds of pressure. Respect the pressure. Please like and subscribe to Wonder Fungi.